Hello everyone, and welcome back to video 7, I believe it is, in our educational series. This video is going to be over support and resistance. Before we get started real quick, I just want to do a risk disclaimer. Futures and options trading have potentially substantial rewards, but also large potential risk. You must be aware of the risk and be willing to accept them in order to invest in the futures and options markets. Don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. This group is neither a solicitation nor an offer to buy or sell futures, options, or other financial products. No representation is being made that any account will or is likely to achieve profits or losses like those discussed in any material within this group. The past performance of any trading system or methodology is not necessarily indicative of future results. Alright, so now we got that out of the way. Let's talk about support and resistance. Now I didn't write any script or anything for this. I didn't really think about what I was going to say before I got on here because support and resistance is something that I really do most of my trading off of, and it's kind of simple. So I was just going to shoot from the hip, I guess, and see how it goes. So when we think about support and resistance, we need to think about what exactly it is. And really all it is areas of supply, okay? So it's places where there's a lot of supply of the underlying, okay? So that means like, if you're trading, let's do something like Amazon because they have actual shares and stuff. It's not like the SPX, but so like there's areas where people will have their orders in for, to buy at and to sell at. So those are going to be areas where there's a lot of supply of shares on the market, okay? And basically what this does, it creates resistance, meaning that there's so many shares being sold or so many people taking profit in this area that it's going to be hard to get past it, right? Or support to where you have a move down and it's a value area where there's a lot of people lined up to buy at that area, right? So let's look at, I'm going to go back to SPX because that's what I trade mostly all the time. I'm going to get a price level drawing tool pulled up. And let's look at this chart. This is a three-year weekly chart, okay? And if you're on video 7, you should know that each one of these candles are the equivalent to 1 week, right? So what do we see here? If we're looking for support and resistance, what do we want to look for? Well, let's look for areas of interest where the price seems to congregate and I guess you could say touches a lot, okay? So just looking around, so right there, look at this. Let me put a thing right here. Let's see, about right here. So look at this. Look where that line's at. So back here, right there, look at that. Right there, look at that. Right there. right there. So that seems to be like a pretty important area, you know. We came up here and we broke through it, but man, we slammed right back down there, and then we fought it. Look, we got rejected off of it one week. We tested it the next week, tested it the next week, rejected off it the next week. Finally broke through it, back down. I mean, we fought this area right here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. And then right here, you have your little false breakout, and then you're right back under. And then we finally break over it again, only to come back and fight it again. And it got rejected off of it, a final rejection, which sent us down here to a new area before coming back up and just slamming through it. And then we turned this resistance into support. You see that? We were finally able to turn it into support. See, back here we were trying to. Right here we were trying to. Right here we were trying to. But right in here is where we finally turned it into support, because we held it. We didn't break under it again. And it was off to the races. And then back here, this was the big COVID-19 sell-off right here. But anyway, we came right through that area, and we tried. During that week right there, look, we tried to get back up there, and it just wasn't in the cards. So fell some more, and then boom, what did we do? We turned it back into support, didn't we? Okay. So you see how those areas, think about how you could structure trades off those areas, you know? And another thing I'd like to say is that with support and resistance, I know I have this price level drawn at like 27.55, but don't get so hung up on support and resistance that you think it's a very specific price level, because it's not. It's a range. Okay, we could probably say that this range right here was let me see here. We could probably say that this support and resistance range was between 27.25 and 27.80, I guess, you know, somewhere around there. Now, one thing I want you to realize, I'm going to leave this up right here. I'm going to leave this up, and we're going to go down in time. Okay? Let's do a 3-year daily chart. Okay? And then look. See where our level is at? I said it was a range, right? 27.25 to, what I say, like 27. We'll just say about right there, I guess. Let me get this. About right there is our range. So you see, if you look back through here, look right there. That's a awesome. If we zoom in here, boom, look at that. There's a perfect bounce off of that. Perfect bounce on the daily charts. You know? See how the price congregates in these areas? It's important areas. You can structure trades off of those areas if you're just patient. Let's go down to We'll do a 4-hour chart. And this doesn't really go back as far. I'm only going to be able to get 360 days, but see on the 4-hour chart, and see how we congregated right here above. See how we tried to hold it. Remember that one weekly candle that we talked about? How we were trying to hold it and we just couldn't do it. We tried. See, we was gapping. We gapped right to this area, and look how we tried to hold it. We tried to break out from it, and there was probably some news event or something that came out and pushed us down right back to it. And then same thing back here. Came right to it, and then boom. There's your signal right there for a long trade. That's it right there. Look at this candle pattern. We had this 4 red candles down into support. And then boom. Huge green candle. Man, you could have bought that. And you could have traded it all the way to probably right here. I probably would have closed. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about support and resistance. One thing though, I think that whenever you're annotating support and resistance, it's important to, what I like to do, I like to start with the weekly, okay? And I only want to look at, okay, so this is where we're trading at right now. I want to look at support and resistance areas that are applicable to near-term trading, right? Because, 3 years ago, I'm not really worried about that. Right now, if price action gets down there, then we'll be worried about it. But so what I'll say is, I'll look at this weekly chart and I'll say, okay, look what we just did. We just had a little correction. Look where we found support at. Let me see how this correlates with some candles here. And see, you could almost say that your range, is probably between 3275 and 3300. So I'm just going to put it there, okay? And I can say that that'll be some kind of weekly support, maybe down in here. Let's move it down there a little bit more. We'll say about right there. And I like to come over here and I like to say, put a W for weekly. And that way I know that that's on the weekly time frame. Now resistance, your weekly resistance for a chart like this is all-time highs. So all-time high, if this was not all-time highs, I would say your resistance is going to be right here. And this probably will provide some minor resistance, okay? But on the weekly time frame, since it's such a big time frame, I'm going to say that all-time highs is going to be our resistance. I just feel like that's appropriate with this time frame. All right, so we have our immediate weekly support and resistance. So now I want to trim down to a daily chart. And I want to look at support and resistances on a daily chart for near-term trading. And first thing I notice when I look at this chart is this area right here. See this area? So this is going to be an area of 3355 to probably about 3400. So I'm going to split the difference, and I'm going to say about 3360 is what I'm going to say. Let's change the color on it. Let's make it a little purple, and we'll put daily. Now for your daily resistance. Like I said, if this was not all-time highs, I would say your resistance is going to be right here at 35.45. But with this being all-time highs, I'm going to stay with that. And then I'm going to move down to, you can move down to a 4-hour chart if you want to, or you can trim on down to a 1-hour chart. We'll just go down to a 1 hour right now. So I want you to think about this for a second. Think about where you would put your next let's say support line. Let's put 2 support lines on this chart. Where would you put them at? Think about it. You got it figured out? Gosh, I could really put 3. So, alright, so I would put one, I'd put one at 33.85. I put one at 33.85. And I'd also put one down here at, see, this is going to be a thick range right here. This is going to be your entire range, looks like. So 33.30. So it looks like 33.30 and 33.85 is going to be a very thick range of support once you get down into the hourly. And resistance, looks like we broke through some minor resistance right there. And one thing about support and resistance is that these big candles like that, well, they're going to start providing some minor resistance or support, okay? And you can see right here, see on the right hand, look right in here, the bottom of that big red candle, it's turning it into support now. So you could say that the next resistance on the hourly would be right in here, this range right here, from right here to right there. Or you could stick with your all-time highs. And I think I'm going to stick with the all-time highs, just because that's going to be a pretty key area once we get back up there. I think we'll get back up there too. I do. Look how your 30-minute chart interacted with our ranges here. This is 10 days, 30 minutes. So like right here, look how we did. Look, we bounced around between daily support and hourly resistance, daily support, hourly resistance, and then boom to hourly resistance, back down, turned your daily into support, and then we just chopped and slopped until finally we broke out. So you see, you can whenever you see stuff like this, if you're watching a chart and you're being patient and you're waiting for you're waiting for your time to shine, you see this breakout. You see the breakout, and a lot of times what's gonna happen is it'll break out, and if it's a true breakout, okay, if it's a true breakout, you'll get your confirmations, and then it'll kind of consolidate a little bit, and then it will come back and test that area. See how it came back and tested this resistance area and turned it into support before bouncing and going higher? You need to wait. You need to wait for this test, okay? Because 9 times out of 10, it'll happen in some shape or form, okay? And then boom, it moved higher. Now right here, we broke right to daily support, and then we came up, we broke out of the resistance area, consolidated a little bit, was coming back to retest it. We didn't quite get there because see, we turned this area right here into some minor support, and that was enough to hold us before moving higher. And that's where knowledge of candles comes in. But we still came back and tested an area, okay? Just like this. We failed the breakout on the hourly resistance, and boom, we came back and tested the daily support. We failed the breakout on the daily resistance. Boom, came back and tested the hourly support. Fell in the breakout on the hourly resistance, and then boom, we came back and tested the hourly support. Okay? So, 30 minute, I would say that I would say 3470. And we can, if you're going to do a short-term trade, then you can say that that'll be your resistance, okay? And I'm only putting that there because it's a short-term trade, all right? I believe that ultimately your resistance is going to be back up there at all-time highs, because that's going to be an important area. But if you was going to structure a trade, a breakout trade, if you think this bullish trend is going to continue, then you could probably say, okay, I'm at my 30-minute support. I'm going to wait for us to break out of this resistance right here at this high, and we'll take a trade. So here you can see on the 15-minute chart. So look at this. This is pretty intriguing, isn't it? See how we just did our 30s right here? Look back here. Look all the way back here. This is all the way back in, this is Thursday, September 3rd of this year. So that's almost a month back. And look how we had some interaction here. How we sold off and we liked this area, and then we started testing it, failed. We came back and we tested it again and we failed. And then boom, where'd we go? Right to hourly and daily support. All right. And you can come in here on the, you can put, you could put price levels wherever you want. You could call this a support and resistance area, okay? You could call that a support and resistance area, but you don't need to get too cluttered up, okay? If you on each of these time frames, if you have one or two support resistance areas for each time frame, then you're going to be able to see the big picture, okay? You'll be able to see what's going on. And if you're trading smaller time frames, then maybe you're not gonna do the weekly support and resistance or the daily support and resistance. If you're trading larger time frames, you're not gonna have any use for a 15 or 30 minute support and resistance area. It's not gonna matter to you, okay? It's just not. And see, sometimes you see how this is right here, how it gets so cluttered up. If I was trading off the daily chart, which this is what this is, each one of these is one day, and if I was going to structure a swing trade, I wouldn't have the hourly on here, I wouldn't have the 30-minute on here, I would have the weekly on here, okay? But it's all about the context of what you're trading, and you need to keep this as simple as you can. You need to keep your charts as clean as you can. You see some of these guys who just have indicators galore, man, and it's just too much. Too much. You don't need all that. You can make very, very successful and consistent trades just off of support and resistance. Even right here, if we just took this area right here, these are 15-minute candles. If you had your hourly and your daily support and resistance annotated on there, man, whenever you seen this big gap right here and you seen this green candle, you could have took a trade in anticipation of testing the daily or testing the hourly resistance. You could have took a trade right here. You could say, all right, I'm going to take a trade right here. I'm going to exit upon closing below this hourly support level. And what's going to happen? Boom, 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 boom. I would probably close the trade in this candle. I would have probably taken profits right here. But if not, you wouldn't even be stopped out until way down here. You would have had two chances to make money on that trade. And that would have been if you went from 33.49 to 33.70, so that's about 20 points on the S&P that you would have caught. That's a pretty good trade. All right, that's a really good trade. That's some really good money. And then right here, look at this one. You see this big gap, and you see us push lower underneath this weekly support level. You could be watching this, and you could be just waiting for us to start consolidating. You see all this sideways action? That's showing you that we're turning for a bottom, that we're trying to find a bottom, okay? And what did I tell you? I told you that support and resistance isn't specific levels, it's ranges, right? So we're in a weekly support range, okay? You have it annotated on your chart. You see this going on. You see us consolidating here, okay? And you see boom, 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 and you're like, okay, what's going on here? And you can either enter in here for a riskier trade, it would be risky, or what else could you do? You could wait and you could see this huge breakout, okay? And then this big gap up, and you're going to be like, okay, right here, we broke this resistance area, we gapped up big. What am I expecting? I'm expecting us to come back and retest it, okay? So what can you do? You can be a little bit more patient, and you can wait, and boom, two big downtrend candles, and then what do we have? nice reversal candle, right? You can start scaling in on that candle right in that support area because it's turned that into support. Or you can wait for a confirmation. You can say, okay, I'm going to close my trade for a loss if we close below this level. Or you can come down here and say this level, this would be an important level. And then look what happens. Boom, boom, boom. I would probably start taking profits right here. And that would be about the 33.16 level. You would have got in, gosh, you would have got in at 32.79, 32.80. So that's 36 points, 37 points on the S&P in a day, in a single day. From here to here is one trading day. And you would have caught 37 points. That's a dang good trade. So that is just a real quick support and resistance rundown. Like I said, I just kind of did this off the fly because I kind of wanted you to see how I think whenever I'm looking at a chart and structuring a trade, how I analyze a chart. So, like always, if you have any questions, then please feel free to contact me, and we'll go over whatever you need to go over. I would practice, though, pick some charts and start practicing annotating support and resistance areas, because it's only going to benefit you in the long run. Once again, thank you. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Thanks.